Okay, now we're going to go over the hardware configuration. Now that we've done everything with the connection to the console, now we have to set the console up to actually see all these components, such as the I/O boxes, the Neutron NB cards, and all of our RPM dynamics for our recording. So let's go ahead and get the console set up and configured. Okay, now that we're here at the surface, we see that the console is booted up in normal, everything's zeroed out. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to need to go to the preferences page. I have that here on the screen in front of me, and we're going to select on the show tab. And right here what you're seeing is the effects and the EQs. Below that's the surround mode, and then the automate the patching. So basically right here, this is where we're going to need to tell the console what we want it to do. In a front of house situation like how I do, I have it set up to where I have 22 effects engines and 8 graphic EQs. As you see from the drop down, it gives you the options. So if you're in a situation where you were doing monitors from front of house and you needed more graphic EQs, you can go ahead and choose the appropriate setup in which you need. And below that, since we're here, I'm just going to let you know that I leave this in none because I'm not doing any surround mixing. Automate patching and everything else in the preferences window we're going to be getting into a separate video. So after that, as you can see up here, we have a red status light. It's showing that there's an error in the console. So I'm going to go ahead and click that to bring up the Diagnostics window. So right now in here, you're going to see the entire architecture of the console. On the right side here, this is our front of house surface, and then the 2 computers that are running inside the desk. And these are our, connections to the stage box, which is our Neutron, and we see our 4 DSP engines, and our I/O card, which is the NB card that is installed in the back. Over here, everything that we see in the unconfigured section is the 4 I/O boxes that I have in the stage rack, and then below that, these are all the items that I have here at front of house with me. So we're gonna, go ahead and show you how to get everything connected so that it's all in the configured and everything is green and happy and working. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna hit this config button here. It's gonna show you all the connection points on the console. And as you see that there are a lot. But first we're gonna start at the stage, okay? These are the first 8 inputs on the back of the Neutron engine that I showed you earlier. Okay, so because we have our I/O boxes, both the main and the redundant, which is the X and the Y, I gotta go ahead and set that up. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna click on this and we're gonna head to the device tab. Right now it's selected to none or unknown. So we're gonna bring this down. Here you're gonna find a list of every single one of the Midas I/O boxes that are available to connect to the console, as well as the DN96 HD recorder, or a generic AES-50 device, which in our case will be the external recording boxes that we have, and we'll be getting into those patchings really, really quick. So let me just bring it back here, because we have 3 151 boxes and 1 152 box, and I just passed it. So right here, we're gonna click 151. You're gonna notice that it gave it a unique ID of ID number 1. Okay, that's very, very important, and you can see there in the background the I/O box just kind of came online. The next port is our backup redundant line for that 151 box. So over there, we're going to click on the 151 red cable, still matching the same ID to that I/O box. Now for the third port, this is the second 151 box. We're also going to select 151 again, and you notice that it's ID 2. So I'm going to go ahead and go through and do this for the rest of the I/O boxes, and then you'll see them all coming online. So now we're into number 3 here. Notice the ID is staying together at number 3. And the last one, don't do what I do, just remember that it's a 152 box. And here comes the last one there. Okay, so now you'll see, for now I'm just going to close this out. All of these came online. So all of our I/O boxes at the stage are now all configured and ready to go, as you see that from the green status light. Now here for the NB card, for my personal setup, I have a 451 that's in the front of house rack that you saw earlier, and that's the main and the redundant line, the X and the Y. And then these next 5, these are all my recording interfaces that I showed you with my RPM dynamics, my 2 devices that I have. Each one of these are giving me 24 channels of bidirectional audio at 96K. So that's how it allows me to have 120 channels of record and virtual playback. So now I got to go ahead and configure these. So here, we're gonna see this is the I/O expansion port. These first 8 are the actual AES-50s that you see on the bottom of the card, okay? And then these additional I/O cart port 1 and 2, those are for those 2 additional that you see at the top right of the card. Below that, we have the front of house port and then the front of house integration, which I'll get into shortly. So let's go ahead and get these configured. So my first 2 inputs, as I said, this is gonna be my 451 I/O. So I'm gonna go ahead and go up there, select on the 451. Notice the ID is number 1 because that's a separate device, different than the 1.5 boxes. And now let's go ahead and put our redundant on there. Still, again, the ID is staying the same. So this line is gonna pop over shortly. So now ports 3 through 7, we have to select the generic AES-50 like I said earlier, okay? So we're gonna put that on. Once again, these are getting specific IDs as well. So here we go. And as you can see, those are all coming online almost instantaneously as I bring them into the system, okay? One thing I do want to say, one little tip here, with this, the 29680s, if you have anything plugged in that's not actually there, so like if you just took a dead cable and plugged it into the port, you're gonna see this, you're gonna see the console looking for something there even though it's not there. So just to keep that in mind, if you don't have anything connected to it, don't plug a cable into it or the console's gonna always keep looking for it. And we click on configure. The ProX Surface, as well as the 3, 6, and 9 on the back have 3 slots for cards where you can put in analog outputs, AES, EBU, which is 8 in, 8 out. You could have 8 analog inputs. You could have DB25s or 1/4 inch stereo inputs. So basically here I had already configured this. On my setup I have 8 analog outputs, 8 AES EBU, and 8 analog inputs. All right. Same thing with my 451. I'm reflecting the same as I am on the Surface. So we have to go to the 451 here and we have to say, hey, what 3 cards are in there? So again, we have our 8 analog outputs, then we have our 8 AES EBU, and then we have our 8 analog inputs. So just like that, now it's configured. So that's it. So that's having the console configured to all the hardware that we have. As you see now, our status light is turned green. Everything is connected to the console. And now we're ready to move on to the next section.